This is Beyond a Reasonable Doubt with your hosts, Mark Garrigus and Adam Carolla.
Well, back by popular demand, Beyond a Reasonable Doubt. I'm Adam Carolla. That's Mark Garrigus in New York City. We'll get it hot off the press. First story, you want to talk about the police shooting?
Yeah, I think today, Gary's got the body cam. They announced in North Carolina that they're not going to file any charges against the officers. Not only are they not going to file any charges, but back a couple of weeks ago, maybe more like 3 weeks ago, a judge ruled that they weren't going to release the body cam until after the investigation's over. Well, I think when the DA announces that that he's not going to file any charges, the investigation would be over. Here is the only, how many seconds is it, Gary? 44 seconds?
More or less, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they released the 44 seconds.
They jumped out of the truck. They're all tactical, geared up. They got their long rifles, and, you know, they're a paramilitary at this point. They jump out. They come up to the car. Car starts backing up, then starts driving forward. There's a cop in the way, but not in danger. Thing pulls out, they fire into the car, and they kill the driver. They were serving a warrant, right?
Warrant
for drugs.
By the way, the bullets hit back of the head, too.
Yeah. All right. We got it. Yeah, I saw the tape.
It reminds me, when I saw this, Adam, I thought about you and the contempt of cop. And that's basically what it is. God forbid if you drive away from a cop, because that's what you're going to get. You're going to get shot in the back. I do, all of these things about the, there's well-established law about shooting fleeing felons in most jurisdictions. And I don't understand if that was a civilian or civilians that had shot somebody, even if that car had been leaving a house where they'd committed a burglary or something else. If it was a civilian shooting in the back of the head, you'd be in custody, no bail, or some multi-million dollars or something else. So I don't. Well, by the way, I didn't have Gary get the press conference, but the press conference was something. This DA is not ready for prime time, I'll tell you.
To make your point, sort of, Jackie Lacey's husband walked out to the porch with just a gun and basically told Black Lives Matter to back off. And then there's that other couple out of Georgia, I think, the husband and wife who stepped out with their guns and told the crowd to disperse. And they're throwing the book at those guys, or at least they're trying to. This is a little bit past that. And by the way,
this is just a wee bit past that. Plus, it's ironic to some degree because in the Supreme Court, in a 9-0 decision yesterday or day before yesterday, ruled they reversed a dismissal of a lawsuit that a guy in Rhode Island had filed where his ex or his current had phoned the cops and said he's suicidal, he's got guns in there, go get him. Cops then use that as exigent circumstances, meaning there's basically an emergency, bust on in and bust him. And they reversed that. They said there's a substantial difference between a car and a home. Here, the car is within the curtilage of the home, and I should have the same protection. So it's wild. And I know they've got a search warrant, and the search warrant differentiates from just busting in under exigent circumstances. But the fact remains that, there still is, and thank God, a Fourth Amendment in this country. And I don't understand, at some point, somebody's got to do something about qualified immunity. You just cannot have cops escalating every single situation. And mind you, it's interesting also, I think of you so many times in these situations, they go in there like, it reminds me of these ragtag bands of, insurgents in foreign countries that we see. It's always a pickup truck, usually a Toyota. There's like 8 guys. They've got their heads wrapped up and they've got the weapons and they go charging in. And I mean, it's the same thing. And the cops have almost replicated, either that or the jihadists emulated. But what was the point of that? I don't even understand. I don't get what the point was.
Well, I have a lot of thoughts. First things first. One thing I learned years ago on the Man Show when Cousin Sal got hold of a taser, that once you get hold of something, you want to use it. And he ended up tasing everybody who worked for the Man Show, because when these guys pull up locked and loaded, they're already in a agitated state. Like they're already in this heightened state. Then it's always the same thing. Everyone jumps out and screams at the top of their lungs. So now everyone is in a bit of a frenzy at this point. It's got a little bit of a, you see sharks having a feeding frenzy sometimes over a piece of whale blubber. Like they're just,
you know what
frenzied.
It reminds me of?
Right.
It reminds me of that Al Pacino scene in Any Given Sunday where he's getting them all fired up, and he's got Jamie Foxx walking towards him, and he's got LL's in there, and he's like, I don't like the face I see in the mirror anymore, and we're just clawing for that inch, get that inch. And they're going, yeah, we're gonna come in.
Somebody just nominated himself for a potty, because if there's an award show, you just got a nomination for podcasting. So everyone's all heightened and whipped up. I'll always say, feel free to comply if you're the public. I mean, let's be honest. If you put the car in park and get out of it with your hands above your head, you're probably going to avoid getting shot in the back of the head. But I wonder if which is, maybe not, depends, but yeah, it'll help. It'll help your chances.
It reduces the odds of the guys just executing.
Right. But I'm also wondering, having 7 guys all screaming at the top of the lungs, just like your Daniel Shaver incident, I don't think that helps the environment at all. Like, so in a weird way, they kind of need a designated spokesperson, like have one guy who's in charge of commands when it comes time to surrounding the car, and having 9 guys shouting 9 different things at the top of their lungs is not good for people. By the way, people are high, they're drunk, they're confused. You know what I mean? And they're being yelled at. There needs to be a procedure here. Now, the guy backs up. And I get there's cases when the car is a weapon. Like I've seen cases where they try to ram the cop car. They try to ram the officer in between the bumper of the cop car and their car. Like I get that. This wasn't that. Pulled back, started to drive forward. There was technically an officer in front of the car, but not in imminent danger. He just sort of... Correct.
By the way, it wasn't like he was aiming for him or anything else. And I have seen when you back up, I mean, I had that case in Utah, Danielle Willard. As soon as she backed up out of the parking space, they executed her there.
Right. So there's an inherent flaw in the whole thing, which is guys with assault rifles who are completely geared up and completely beaked up, jumping out and screaming at the top of their lungs. And then there's a phenomenon, which is as soon as one person fires a round, they all start firing rounds. In this particular case, and I'm definitely not a, shoot him in the hand and knock the knife out of her hand, or, that there's a lot of sort of armchair quarterbacking with why couldn't you have shot the person in the leg or whatever. In this particular case, I would have gone for 0 shots. And if any shots at all are being fired, fire it toward the tire, fire it into the ground. Flatten the tire. I mean, again, it's not one of those things where shoot him in the thigh, like the Breonna Taylor thing or something like that. Like that was dark. They didn't know what the hell was going on. I don't know about shooting anyone in the thigh or shooting them in the hand.
I just don't understand. You're executing a warrant. The car is leaving. They're literally out of harm's way. Why do you start shooting?
You don't need to start shooting. And then also, you're in a suburban neighborhood. There are people walking their dog. You know what I mean? I don't know how many rounds got squeezed off.
There was a house over there, and the house who knows what's in the house? You got bullets, stray bullets going through the house into a baby's crib or something. I mean, the whole thing's a nightmare.
It's also very schizophrenic because anyone who's seen a police chase in Los Angeles has seen the police cars trail the fleeing car for miles on occasion.
Until they run out of gas. I mean, in California, it's basically you go until they just get tired or they're outside the jurisdiction, and then they just ram you, and that's the end of that. I don't understand any of it. And by the way, I'm going to come back to and I've got a heart out, so we'll leave it at this, but I'll just say something about the open pickup truck with the guys kind of all on it and in it, and then jumping out with the back. I think it just lends itself to disaster. It's just a recipe for disaster.
Yeah, and I don't, this one, technically he moved forward in the car, and technically there was an officer standing in the front of the car. He wasn't trying to hit him, but this is a technicality because you really have to kind of prove that he was trying to run somebody over or harm somebody, not from the tape. I could not see that from the tape. So is this thing over and done with, or is the family going to get a check anyway?
They're going to get a check. There'll be a check. There's no way. I mean, in fact, I wouldn't be surprised if the feds come in. I mean, the perfect case for the feds to come in and say, no, you don't. I mean, that's exactly what they should do. You can't have these things. There's too much of a symbiotic relationship between county prosecutors and the police force. The county prosecutor cannot divorce themselves from that, and it's almost always an elected position. They just have to have somebody else do the investigation. It has to be out of county. It probably should be the feds, and that's the end of that.
Well, and just one last point. If you're the cops and your argument was he was speeding off and posing a danger, it's completely nullified by you emptying a clip into the neighborhood and having the guy behind the wheel who could have easily just floored it and just plowed right into the porch of the house across the way.
Exactly. How are you stopping it? If the guy goes forward or God forbid his foot gets stuck, boom, right into the house.
All right. What was your next story, Mark?
Oh, God, they're telling me I got to go. I get it. That was it. I've been there. You should see what's happening right around, what's hovering over your head right now.
They need you down at the bar with the...
I got to put a tie on. I apologize. I got to go put a tie on.
All right. You go run. Gary and I will bring this
okay. Bye, guys. I love you too. See you on Friday, hopefully.
Thanks, Mark. So,
bye, guys.
Do we know how many rounds they fired off, Gary?
No, he was shot 5 times, but the number of rounds that were fired in total does not appear to be something that's readily available. I've been searching for it ever since you asked that question 3 or 4 minutes ago. I can tell you, you had mentioned a little something to me off air, that there is some developments in the connection between Jeffrey Epstein and Bill Gates. Apparently, based on reports, Bill thought that Jeffrey Epstein was his path to getting a Nobel Peace Prize.
Oh, he thought
that Epstein's connections were going to be enough to get him with the right people to get him awarded a Nobel Peace Prize. And it appears that back in 2013, they together may have met with somebody who was on the commission that awards that prize. So apparently he was making moves that were getting Bill closer to said prize. Now, Bill's camp has denied this and is, understandably trying to distance what their relationship was.
Well, interesting, and one we'll keep you posted on. All right. That'll be enough for our Beyond a Reasonable Doubt, but we'll be back with our... Wait, another one?
We'll be back with another Beyond a Reasonable Doubt this Thursday. If you'd like to watch these on YouTube, please go to youtube.com/Reasonable Doubt Podcast and subscribe while you're there. And we'll be back with you on Thursday for Beyond and on Saturday for the best hour in the universe.
And Saturday night, Jam in the Van. We'll be doing a live show out here in Los Angeles. You want to come by and hang out, have fun with us. So until next time, Adam Carolla for Gary Smith and Mark Garagos saying mahalo.
Thanks for listening to Beyond a Reasonable Doubt. Stay tuned for more bonus episodes coming soon.